devastation combination of bad weather and high terrain led to the fatal crash of a Z-9 helicopter on the 6th of August this year, claiming 8 lives, including Defense Minister Edward Omanibuama and Environment Minister Murtala Mohammed. The investigative committee that probed the crash revealed at a press briefing earlier that the tragedy was caused by a sudden loss of altitude and lift resulting from a powerful downdrift. Now, a member of the committee, Captain retired Paul Forjoe, explained that the aircraft experienced abrupt changes in environmental conditions while flying over high terrain, leading to the fatal crash. Take a listen.
Forjoe, who took us through the processes that they had to go through, the rigorous processes that they went through to come to the conclusions that they've reached and then the recommendations that they have made. He talked about taking the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. All of that, we're told, were taken to China, where the Z-9 helicopter was manufactured. That happened sometime in September. One of the questions that came up was whether they listened to the cockpit's voice recorder, and he said yes, indeed, they listened to the cockpit voice recorder, and all of that made them, together with other things that they identified, made them come to the conclusion that indeed the cause of the helicopter crash was a sudden loss of altitude. So he's also talked about the weather conditions, both in southern Ghana and also in the community in the Ashanti region where the crash happened. He said the weather was not good. It was one of the things that he talked about and one of the contributory factors to the helicopter crash.
Visual flight rules in marginal weather. The flight to Forjoe was uneventful. Forjoe is approximately 90 miles from Accra, about 10 miles from Obuasi. As the flight approached Obuasi, visibility deteriorated rapidly due to mist and low clouds. At 9:56, the crew entered IMC, which is Instrument Meteorological Conditions. To the layman, it is they flew into clouds because they no longer could stay away from the clouds, so they flew into clouds and transitioned to IFR. Now, IFR is Instrument Flight Rules. So what it means is they now transitioned from navigating using visual cues to now navigation solely on the aircraft's instruments. The crew then initiated a climb to cross terrain that they were aware of. They initiated the climb to cross the terrain. Seconds before impact, the crew stated that they could see the high ground below, so they had gone over it. Suddenly thereafter, the helicopter that was flying up, without any change in its power or in the pitch, which we use to go up and down, suddenly lost height and impacted a ridgeline at about 1,370 feet above sea level. And this was about 6.5 miles from the destination, and this happened at 9:58.
Another key issue that came up was some safety enhancements, on the flight. He said that some safety enhancements like autopilots and others were not present, on the flight. So although the flight was in a good condition, to fly, there were some features that were not present on the helicopter. It is his view that if those features were present, it could perhaps have averted the helicopter crash.
The helicopter was airworthy, but it lacked additional safety enhancements. For instance, the terrain awareness warning system. Now, the terrain awareness warning system, for instance, is predictive. So what it does is it warns you It gives you a better picture of the situation and puts the pilots in a better, it gives them, puts them in a position to make better judgments, to be able to see everything and be able to foretell if there are any things that could possibly create a problem. But they lack the additional safety enhancements required for the weather phenomenon over that terrain. There was adverse weather, there was limited visibility, there was rising rugged terrain, with this terrain induced complicating factors, and there were no ground-based navigational route aids en route. The investigation would like to say that from everything they gathered, the emergency response was very timely. The fact that these first responders managed to get to the site in about 2 hours was remarkable because the terrain has very steep slopes. It was raining, it was slippery. So it wasn't the easiest thing to do. When we went to the site, it was also raining and it was very slippery. And we struggled using sticks and everything to try to get up there. So looking at everything, we would say very confidently that the emergency response was very timely. The investigation determined that the accident was caused by the sudden loss of altitude and lift due to downdraft. This loss of altitude without change in power or pitch altitude is consistent with downdraft associated with changing environmental conditions over high terrain.
Now, key amongst the recommendations that the committee is making armed forces fleets, to be modernized.
Our safety recommendations. There is a definite need to modernize the fleet of the Ghana Air Force. We have recommended that the Air Force acquire modern aircraft with terrain avoidance warning systems and modern navigation systems. That the aircraft should have cockpit voice recorders and flight data recorders, which are the audiovisual capable types. That the Air Force should invest in simulators for recurrent training. That they contract certified aviation weather provider or providers, and that Ghana as a nation should try to have en route navigational aids, especially in remote areas. The Air Force should seriously consider establishing flight data monitoring and en route tracking systems. And finally, we believe that they need to acquire ground support equipment, modernize what they have. In conclusion, the helicopter accident was an unfortunate and sudden weather-related accident. Implementing the safety recommendations will prevent the reoccurrence of future accidents.
So that was Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbagba with that report there, and of course may the souls of those who sadly lost their lives on the 6th of August continue to rest in peace. And Wing Commander Patrick Nelson Sogbajo is a retired Ghana Air Force officer, and he's joined us on Zoom for more on this. Thank you very much, officer, for joining us. So you've seen the report, you've heard the report as presented at the Jubilee House earlier today. What are your initial thoughts of it?
Well, good afternoon to your listeners. I think it's a very comprehensive report which has come out. And if you remember, I appeared on your television and voice when the accident happened. And my main concern was to find out what happened for the aircraft to descend from approved height to come down and hit something and then crash. And I think the report so adduced had laid a blame squarely, not on equipment, the aircraft per se, not the pilots, but on weather. And nobody can control weather, especially when you are flying over such a heavy forested area, where you don't have chances of landing the aircraft, being a helicopter or fixed wing.
Right. You spoke about they attributed it to the weather, but do you think there should be a further, accountability, for example, within the military command structure for authorizing flights under such bad conditions?
For example, I believe you've flown before. And before an aircraft takes off, you are giving weather reports. But that one, you must first clarify that no pilot wants to go and die. And the Air Force will not send you up no weather is not. The Air Force is not in control of weather. They get the weather from Met Office. And the Met Office will give you the weather at the control level, control tower. The Air Force has no business on that one. And the pilot will not decide to fly if the weather is beyond his capability.
Right. So what lessons do you think we can draw from this tragic incident that happened a couple of months ago?
You see, this tragic incident which happened, it's not the fault of the pilots. It's not the fault of the equipment, whether it was airworthy or not. It's weather, and weather can develop at any time en route. If you know the weather before you start your engine and take off, if the weather is not good, you wait. But when you get clearance that you can go, en route to your destination, weather can change at any time. And unfortunately, helicopters don't go too high. If there had been a normal fixed flight about 5,000 up to about 40,000, the downdraft won't have much effect because you are higher and you have room to maneuver. But when a helicopter which is flying, they are just 2,000 feet above the highest obstacle, you don't have that much chance when you suddenly run into a downdraft or updraft.
Right.
And where there's no possibility of landing the airplane at the school park or market square or something. It's rather unfortunate.
Commander, indeed, it is the weather, as you've mentioned, and as the report has indicated to us. But there should surely be some lessons that we can draw from this. For example, if we're not too sure about the weather, should we still go ahead and fly and say that because
I have just told you that before you lift up an aircraft, you report your flight plan, which is submitted to the control tower. Control tower will give you a report. And even before you go to the airplane, you are as soon as you give it, as you know the weather. And if the weather is not flyable, you will not go.
Okay.
Nobody can force you to go and crash. No, it doesn't work that way. You get Met instructions from the control tower, and our daily Met reports also come through. So you have to wait until it's clear. But whether developing en route, you have no control over it.
One of the recommendations by the committee was that, most of the fleet that is being used by the Ghana Air Force should be changed. Is that something you share with the committee?
Wow, change to what? For example, I know Captain Forjoe very well. And he listed a lot of planes he has flown. Okay?
Okay.
When planes are being manufactured, they don't manufacture planes specifically for the Air Force or for the civil. It depends what you, the operator, wants to use the aircraft for. And then you add things which we put in. For example, this plane is about 10, 15 years old, and it's flown all over the country. Are we saying that without those things, they were not flying? Isn't the same airplane we were flying, the president here, ministers here? Let us accept this as an unfortunate accident. Do you understand? I was trained abroad. On the same aircraft I was trained on, if you went to the civil type, they have more gadgets than the Air Force type.
Okay.
Okay? So there's no standardization about the plane. It's how airworthy the aircraft is. And he come out that it was not the aircraft, it was not the pilot. It was weather. And weather, they don't have control. You can't predict weather from here to Kumasi. Maybe by the time you get to Konongo, something has changed. If it's so bad, the control tower will give you a warning that there's weather on this side. You understand me? But this plane has been flown from Accra to almost just 8 minutes to destination. And because of this height or separation, let's say 1,000, 2,000 from the highest object, you have a downdraft who pushes the aircraft down. It is not like it starts and you have 30 minutes. Seconds. Do you understand it? You don't have chance to do anything. But if, for example, as I said earlier, it was in a heavy forested area, they could have maneuvered to land in some school park or something. All right? But this happened in a heavy forested area.
Okay.
And there's no chance they could have landed on top of the trees.
Right. Commander, let's go through a few of the recommendations that was recommended by the committee. It recommended, for example, that we should install en route navigation aids, especially in remote areas like the place where this incident happened. Do you agree with that?
It depends. It depends on our economic situation.
Okay.
Forjoe has flown all over the world. Is he saying that every country has fly aids scattered all over the country? It's literally impossible. We have Obuasis on the Kumasi.
And that's
and I think right from the beginning, a lot of people got the whole thing wrong when they said the aircraft was out of radar. It should have been out of communication. You can install Obuasi Accra. It's not a normal route, is it? So where are you going to position those aids? Are you with me?
I am, sir.
Yes, they are reporting points for pilots as we fly. So Accra to Obuasi is not such a long stretch that they have to put radar. How often do we fly from Accra to Obuasi? Some of the recommendations are ideal recommendations, but they are not things you can more or less do.
Are you saying most of them are not realistic, the recommendations?
I'm not saying most of them, some of them.
Okay.
They've done a good job, and I appreciate what they've done. And they told us what happened. They were all wondering, was it the pilots, was it the aircraft? And they've all been exonerated. You can't exonerate the weather.
Well, let's go through the final recommendation that I want to ask your thoughts about to see whether they are feasible or not. It also recommended that the Air Force should invest in simulators for recurrent training. Is that something you think is feasible? We should do?
Well, now let's go back. When was the Ghana Air Force from 1959? Okay?
Yes.
And all of us have been trained. Fortunately, I was done at the with the Italian Air Force. Don't you have pilots who be flying all the time? Well, at that time, we didn't have flight simulators. But how did you fly? How did you do it? All these are modern things. I mean, you have about 4, 5, 6 different aircraft in Ghana Air Force. If they recommend that we need a flight simulator for training, yes. But it is not mandatory. What you do in flight simulator, you do it on the ground. But if an instructor will take you on the up, you fly on the ground, you still have to go up. You can't qualify as a pilot on flight simulator. You qualify a flight simulator pilot. You do flight simulator, you come and do the actuals in the air. I hope I've explained it to you.
Yes, indeed, you have. Thank you very much for
Is there anything else I need clarification? I want the populace to take faith. And Ghana Air Force has a very high safety record in the world. Ever since 1959, our crashes less than 4 or 5. But this was a weather-generated accident. So we should accept it as an accident. I think, period, that's what happened. It's very sad the personnel who died. They could have been soldiers, they could have been anybody. But they are all souls. Okay? An accident, there's no ideal accident. An accident is an accident.
Okay, I wanted to let you go, but there's one final recommendation
Go ahead.
by the committee that I want to put to you. It says that there was no stimulator training for the crews. I continue to say that a deficit in enhanced training was noted.
And that is why I'm giving you what is a simulator training. I'm telling you that no matter how many hours you go in the simulator, you will have to go to do the actual flying. Simulator is just to keep on refreshing you. It is not compulsory. And I'm saying that since 1959, when the Ghana Air Force was enacted, how many pilots have we lost without using simulator? How many of them? I have my own private simulator in the house. I fly occasionally. But that is not mandatory. You do simulator, you have to come out. Simulator will develop to cut out the flying hours.
Right.
That you need to become a pilot. You need time you take off, you consume a lot of fuel. And that is not for free. If they had a simulator, good enough. But if you don't have, it doesn't denigrate the type of training Ghana Air Force gives you, physically. It doesn't.
Okay, thank you very much. Wing Commander Patrick Nelson Forjoe, retired, speaking to us there. He's a retired Ghana Air Force officer there. And of course, on Thursday, the budget will be read by the Finance Minister, Cassiel Ato-Forson. What is in it for the ordinary Ghanaian? You should stick and stay. We join you on Thursday. We will be bringing you in-depth analysis on what to expect, how it will affect you, how it will affect your pocket. With taxes will be scrapped. Are there introductions of new taxes? You have to stick and stay with us on Joy News throughout the day, because in the evening also we have something special for you on Thursday evening after the budget is read. The Pulse returns after this break.